when y'all are done, just go ahead and put your pencil down and look forward at me so that I know that we're ready to move on. Alright, are we all good to move on? We're going to the synthesis phase, right? So first is growth phase and interphase. Then we're moving on to the synthesis phase. We also call it the S phase for short, because who wants to remember synthesis? But if you recall, synthesis means to make, right? Just like protein synthesis, we're talking about making proteins. This would be making DNA, right? A little different, but almost, it's definitely something that we have to recall right here. So, the cell's DNA is copied. That makes the S phase an integral part of interphase. And a super huge part of the cell cycle as well. This is where the DNA is copied. Copy, copy, copy. Write it down, highlight it, bold it, underline it, italicize it, whatever you need to do to remember that the cell's DNA is copied in S phase. Copied in S phase. About ready to move on to G2 phase. Awesome. Once we get to G2 phase, we're pretty much on visuals, okay? Because that's when we move on to mitosis. So we got one more slide. So in G2 phase, we have, oops, my bad. We've got these hollow microtubules, which are assembled. Microtubules are used to move chromosomes during mitosis. In that video that we just saw, that like really, really short one that was going really quick, those things that were moving across real fast, they were being pulled by these microtubules. Microtubules kind of look like a trash can. They also, or like those little, if you cut off a Twizzler to make it really small, that would be what it looked like, a Twizzler. Someone in the last class said a churro. I think celery too, but the celery doesn't, it's not a full circle. All right, but our microtubule is like kind of like this, right? And usually when you see them in pictures, you'll see them kind of sitting together.
Like a marshmallow.
Suppose, but this, our microtubules kind of going to look like this. Usually they'll say like this, or what we're going to see is them actually on the end of those strings and pulling the chromosomes apart. Okay, and we'll see a visual of that in just a moment. This is when our microtubules are being assembled. All right. Okay, so our second phase of the cell cycle is mitosis. Right? With mitosis, we're talking about the nucleus being divided into two nuclei. Right? And each nucleus ends up with the same number of chromosomes as the original cell. Right? Those were the things that were being pulled apart, one to either side. If you think about this in like football terms, for example, you got to meet at the line of scrimmage, and it'd be like if everyone stood in a line, and one line goes backwards because they're getting pulled towards their end zone, the opposite line is getting pulled towards their end zone, kind of like that. Separating into two separate teams. Not like that. That's a bad example.
You right.
Trying to think of a better example, but it's when two things get pulled apart. Right? Like your hands. Like your hands going like this. We're all together, then we go. Now we're separate.
Like breaking up.
Oh, that'd be really sad.
Yeah.
Right, and this includes prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase, which is actually going to explain this whole process of we're starting together, we're getting pulled apart, and now we have two separate cells. Okay? This whole hand motion, that's exactly what's happening. Bam. Right? Alright guys, are we about ready to move on to that last bit? Almost. We're moving on to that last bit, which is cytokinesis, right? That is our third and final stage of the cell cycle. And third and final stage of the cell cycle. Alright, we got 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so cytokinesis is the third and final stage of the cell cycle. Right? During this final stage, the cytoplasm divides. Cytoplasm, if you recall, in these cells are that clear jelly-like substance that you, like it just kind of fills up the cell. Everything else sits inside of it. It's like, oh, that's cool. It's just jelly. Alright, I think it's fun. I think the cytokinesis is really interesting because this is when you officially have those two separate cells. So you gotta divide the last thing, which is cytoplasm. I just think it's funny that they divide jello. Wow, I think that's funny. I think maybe I think it's really funny because last night I was watching that 70s show and there's an episode where Eric was like gonna tell his dad that he loved him because his dad told him he loved him, which is like so uncharacteristic of Red. Anyways, but his mom was like, no, he was on drugs because he had been at the doctor's office and they had numbed his face up. And so she turns around and like half the scene is like the jello like flying off the plate and falling on the ground. Just pure mess. So cytoplasm I think is jello. Alright, what we're gonna do now is go through some visuals. We're gonna go through some visuals of what we're talking about when we talk about mitosis. Okay, because mitosis, although it's very short, it's got a lot of processes. Right? It's got a lot of processes. So I need your eyes up. Okay? Eyes up. First of all, we're talking about prophase. Alright, we've got our plant example and we've got our animal example. Our plant example, just for the purpose of looking at it right now, is a little better. It's just it's a lot clearer, so you might want to focus on the blue one a little more. But it's the same thing happening here. Okay, this one's just a little bigger. Okay, and we can tell it's our plant because we have these rigid, square-like cell wall, right? That gives it that structure. So, prophase. Everybody, hands like this. Prophase. Prophase. We are together. Prophase. No, we're not cheering. We're together, right? Prophase. This is better too, right? Prophase. It's just like if you're in sports or if you watch sports, whenever those teams get in their big huddle, right? All of the stuff in the cell is one big huddle. Okay? Our next phase, can you guess what? Anaphase. Look at it. Kind of looks like a dead cat. Or like the spider in the back.
Wait.
Oh.
Right? That's when we start to go like this. Okay? We are starting to separate. We're starting to pull things apart. Our next phase is going to start to look like this, right? That is our anaphase. Okay? Anaphase looks like this. Alright, and telophase finally looks like that. So, sports reference again, when we're talking about prophase. Go back to their hands. Prophase would be like we're all huddling. We're one big team. We got to huddle. We got to talk about what we're doing. What's the next step? Right? What's the next step? Prophase. Metaphase. Okay, we're going to our lines, right? We got to go to the line of scrimmage for football. We got to go. Next phase, anaphase. Y'all are going at it. You're trying to get the quarterback, the ball's been high, right? Your center's like keeping the ball away. Right? Morale loves this example. Right, and then finally, the play's over. Okay, play's over. We have to go back to our teams and to our coach to figure out what we're going to do next. Okay, that's when we have our cells are almost completely gone. Or separated, sorry. Almost completely separated. It's a telophase. Alright, we're in telophase right now. It could be like a timeout, or it could be like the end of play. Alright, guys, come on, stop chatting. Alright, we're looking at our last piece, and that's cytokinesis. Okay? Cytokinesis is, this line is way more defined now, right? Guys, Guys, our head should be up here because we're looking at these visuals. You're asleep. We've been waiting on you too. We've been waiting on you two to stop talking. So we're on, stop talking. So we're on our final stage, which is cytokinesis, right? So now this line here is way more defined, identifying that we've got two separate cells. All right, so we started with one, we ended up with two. Make sense?
Perhaps.
Kinda. We're gonna walk through some bit of activity. I gave the last class an option of either doing a skit with a small group, okay, a drawing, or doing like a poem or like a rap.
No, I draw.
Okay?
Oh, God.
Yep.
Does everyone want to do the drawing?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
Awesome.
what?
Awesome. So, let me show you what I want from you, okay? In the drawing, you still have to add some words, right? I need to see interphase, I need to see mitosis, and I need to see cytokinesis. But I also need to see the stages within, right? Interphase has 3 stages, G1, synthesis, and G2. Mitosis has 4 stages, prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase, right? So, it's not as hard as it looks, right? We saw a good example of this at the beginning. Right here, right? It's an okay example, right? It's got all the basics. It doesn't show the steps of mitosis though, right? So I would need to see the steps of mitosis added to this, right? And then I also want a short, and I mean 1 sentence explanation of what's going on. Synthesis, for example. Our DNA is copied in synthesis, okay? This is where our DNA is copied. Short, to the point, right? Make sense? Would you like to see some examples? Because from the last class, it's a really good one.